Part 3. Sinai and the Covenant. The journey to Sinai. Preparation for revelation. The wilderness journey from the sea to Sinai. Exodus 15, 2:2-1-8-27. Serves as necessary preparation for covenantal encounter. The Hebrew midbar, wilderness, derives from davar, to speak lead. It is the place where God speaks, where Israel learns to hear. The narrative sequence. Marah's bitter water sweetened by tree. Elim's 12 springs. The manna and quail. Repidim's water from rock. Amalek's attack. Jethro's counsel. Establishes patterns of complaint and provision, testing and trust. The Hebrew nasha, to test, appears at Masa Meribah. Is Yahweh among us or not? Exodus 17:7. This testing reveals Israel's faith as incomplete, requiring miraculous confirmation rather than covenantal confidence. The manna, man who, what is it, becomes the daily lesson in dependence. Gathered fresh each morning, spoiling if hoarded, double portion before Sabbath. The bread from heaven, lechem min ha-shamayim, that teaches that man does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of Yahweh. Deuteronomy 8:3. The journey's third month arrival at Sinai. Exodus 19:1-2. In the third month after the Israelites left Egypt, connects to Shavuot, the Festival of Weeks, in later Jewish tradition. The wilderness, as bit, midrash, house of study, emerges here. Israel learns Torah before receiving Torah, practices obedience before commandment, experiences provision before promise. This pedagogical sequence, experience before explanation, trust before law, establishes the covenantal pattern. Grace precedes demand, redemption precedes obligation. The Eved, servant, is freed before becoming the Eved, servant of God. The thunder and lightning, theophany and terror. Exodus 19 presents Sinai as Har Ha-Elohim, mountain of God, the place where heaven touches earth, where divine and human meet in terrifying intimacy. The theophany's sensory overload. Thunder, kolot, lightning, barakim, dense cloud, anan kaved, trumpet blast, shofar, smoke, ashan, fire, esh, establishes the pattern of Nora, awe, terror, that characterizes authentic encounter. The Hebrew Nora combines fear and attraction, danger and desire, the sublime that overwhelms yet summons. The boundaries set around the mountain, Hagbel, set bounds, protect Israel from unauthorized approach. Whoever touches the mountain shall be put to death. 19:12. This sacred geography recognizes that divine presence is not safe, that holiness has boundaries, that access requires preparation and permission. The 3-day preparation washing garments, abstaining from women, establishes ritual purity as prerequisite for revelation. The Hebrew Kiddush, sanctification, applies to people, place, and time. Israel becomes Kadosh, holy people, through separation, through readiness, through response to call. The theophany's climax, YHWH descending, veiled upon the mountain in fire, recalls the burning bush yet intensifies it. Now, not Moses alone, but all Israel sees, hears, trembles. The people's request, speak to us yourself, and we will listen, but do not have God speak to us, or we will die. 2019 establishes Moses as mediator, the pattern of Turka det Zebura, burden of community, that will define prophetic leadership. The terror of Sinai is not obstacle but gift. It teaches that God is not human projection, not comfortable companion, but El Gibor, mighty God, whose presence requires transformation. The 10 words, Decalogus Constitution, the Azaret Hadibrot, 10 words/sayings, Exodus 21:1-4, Deuteronomy 5:6-1-8, stand as Israel's constitutional foundation, the core covenantal obligations. The Hebrew Dibrot, from Davar, word speaking, suggests not merely commands, but articulated reality. Divine speech creating moral order as creation speech created physical order. The 2 tablets division, Rabbi Hananiah ben Gamliel's tradition, 5 and 5, corresponding to hands. Philo's philosophical reading, 2 sets of 5, Christian numbering varying, reflects the text's generative capacity. The opening Anachi YHWH Elokecha, I am YHWH, your God, establishes the covenantal preamble, divine self-identification as liberator before lawgiver. Geula, redemption, preceding mitzvah. Commandment, the Hebrew avoda, service worship, and shamad, covet desire, organize the prohibitions. First tablet God word, no other gods, no images, no vain oaths, Sabbath observance, parental honor. Second tablet human word, no murder, adultery, theft, false witness, coveting. Yet, the rabbis noted that Sabbath and parental honor bridge both realms, suggesting inseparability of divine and human service. The Decalogue's formulation, Lo Terzak, you shall not murder, rather than killing is wrong, addresses Israel as capable agents, not abstract moral subjects. The Hebrew Kitav, for good, in the Sabbath command connects creation and liberation. Rest because God rested. Rest because you were slaves. The 10th commandment's Lo, tack mode, you shall not covet, uniquely addresses Yetzer, inclination/desire, suggesting Torah's concern with internal motivation, not merely external action. The Decalogue's placement at Sinai, before the detailed mishpatim, laws, establishes priority. Relationship precedes regulation. Principles guide particulars. The God who brought from Egypt commands differently than the gods who never liberated. The Covenant Code, ancient Near Eastern law, Exodus 20, 19-23, the Sefer Habrit, Book of the Covenant, 24:7, presents the most extensive legal collection in the Torah, revealing Israelite law's participation in and transformation of ancient Near Eastern legal traditions. The Code of Hammurabi, c. 1750 BCE, provides the closest parallel, casuistic formulation, if X happens, then Y penalty. Similar case types, ox goring, theft, injury, hierarchical penalties, slave versus free, woman versus man. Yet, crucial differences emerge. The Covenant Code's concern for the Eved Ivri, Hebrew slave, the Ger resident alien, the Almana Viatum, widow and orphan, reflects distinctively Israelite values. The Hebrew Ki Yimkor, when one sells, and Tzatzaim, bodily injury, demonstrate shared legal vocabulary with neighboring cultures, while Tikkun Olam, repair of the world, concerns emerge uniquely. The Mishpatim ordinances of Exodus 2:1-3 cover slavery, 21:111, homicide and injury, 21:1236, property damage, 21:37, 2:2, bailment, 22:414, seduction, 22:1516, sorcery and bestiality, 22:1719, oppression of vulnerable, 22:2026, respect for authorities and first fruits, 22:2723, 19, and justice administration, 23:19. The theological framework, you shall not wrong a stranger or oppress him, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt, 22:20, transforms legal obligation into historical memory, social justice into covenantal continuity. The Shemitah, sabbatical year, and Shabbat, seventh day, provisions connect social legislation with cosmic order, economic justice with creation theology. The Covenant Code's conclusion, I will send my terror before you. I will deliver the inhabitants of the land into your hand. 23:27, 3:1 returns to narrative, embedding law within promise, obligation within gift. The Book of the Covenant, ritual and society. The Covenant Code's ritual elements, Exodus 23:1019, integrate agricultural practice with sacred calendar, establishing the rhythm of Israelite life. The Shemitah, release year, letting land rest, releasing Hebrew slaves, transforms economic relations through sacred time. The Hebrew tishmtena vinatashtena, you shall let it rest and lie fallow, applies Sabbath principle to property, challenging accumulation and exploitation. The Shalosh Regalim, 3 pilgrimage festivals, Pesach, Passover, Shavuot, weeks, Sukkot, booths, structure the year around historical memory, Exodus, and agricultural reality, grain, fruit harvests. The prohibition on chametz, leaven, with Passover sacrifice. The Bikurim, first fruits offering, the Lo Yerae, not appearing empty-handed. Command create embodied connection between labor and worship, production and gratitude. The Hebrew Al Tashchit, do not destroy principle, derived from Deuteronomy's war laws but implicit here, suggests environmental consciousness within covenantal ethics. The Covenant Code's social vision, protection of the vulnerable, limitation of debt slavery, sabbatical restoration, represents not utopian fantasy, but achievable justice within ancient agrarian society. The rabbis expanded these principles into Tikkun Olam. Modern scholars recognize anticipatory social legislation. Liberation theologians find precedent for preferential option for the poor. The Book of the Covenant thus stands as Torah's practical application. Not merely what to believe, but how to live. Not only ritual performance, but social transformation. The bridge between thundering theophany and daily existence. The ratification ceremony, blood of the covenant. Exodus 24:1-1-1 presents the covenant's ratification through dramatic ritual, sacrifice, blood application, communal eating, and visionary experience. Moses, Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, and 70 elders, Ziknei Yisrael, ascend the mountain after the people's Naaseh Vanishma. We will do, and we will hear. The Hebrew Vayishlach, he sent young men for sacrifices, olot, burnt offerings, and shlamim, peace offerings, establishing the Zevach, sacrificial system, as covenantal seal. The blood's dual application, half thrown against the Mizbeach, altar representing God, half sprinkled on the Am, people, establishes Brit, covenant as shared obligation. Dam Habrit, blood of the covenant, as binding commitment. The Hebrew Hinai Dam Habrit, behold, the blood of the covenant, becomes Christian Eucharistic language, Matthew 26:28, 1 Corinthians 11:25, while remaining central to Jewish circumcision. Brit Milah, theology. The communal eating, Vayishtu, they ate and they drank before God, establishes Soidat Mitzvah, festive meal of commandment, pattern. The Shulchan, table, as place of divine human communion. The visionary experience, Vayiru et Elohei Yisrael, they saw the God of Israel, sapphire pavement, divine Laraglav under his feet, grants elders direct access while maintaining mystery. Vel atzilei binei Israel lo shalash yado. Against the nobles of Israel, he did not stretch out his hand. The Hebrew Vayachelu, and they beheld, suggests sustained vision, not fleeting glimpse. Yet the text insists they aklu vayishtu, ate and drank, embodied, not ethereal existence. The ratification ceremony thus establishes covenant as total relationship, legal obligation, the book's words, ritual embodiment, sacrifice and blood, communal celebration, eating and drinking, and mystical encounter, vision of God. The multiple participants, Moses as mediator, priests and elders as representatives, people as recipients, create hierarchical yet inclusive structure, the pattern for subsequent covenant renewals.
Moses ascends. 40 days and 40 nights. Exodus 24 verses 12 to 18 describes Moses' solitary ascent for extended divine encounter, the period of Torah's reception. The Hebrew Vayamar Yahweh el Moshe, and Yahweh said to Moses, summons him higher, leaving Aaron and her in charge of disputes. The Lukat Ha'avanim, tablets of stone, Torah, instruction, and mitzvah, commandment, that God will give suggest comprehensive revelation beyond the Decalogue. The 40 days and 40 nights, Arbaim Yom v Arbaim Layla, echo the flood's duration, establishing pattern of transformation through extended trial. The Hebrew via Yehi Kivad Yahweh, and the glory of Yahweh, dwelling on the mountain, the Anan, cloud, covering it 6 days, the fire, Esh, visible to Israel, create temporal structure, waiting, then entry. Moses' entry on the 7th day suggests Shabbat pattern even in Revelation. The Tohar, purity, of the mountain, the Kivad Yahweh, glory. Like Ishokel, devouring fire, to Israel's eyes, maintains theophanic terror while allowing intimate access. The 40 days content, revealed in subsequent chapters as Mishkan, tabernacle, instructions, Shabbat laws, golden calf episodes aftermath, suggests that Torah includes both positive command and narrative response to failure. The Hebrew via Yehu Bnei Yisrael Roim, and the Israelites saw, emphasizes visual confirmation of Moses' encounter, the cloud as public sign of private communication. Moses' absence creates narrative tension, the people's anxiety at his delay, their demand for visible gods, the golden calf catastrophe, all flow from this extended solitude. The 40 days thus represent not merely information transfer but relationship formation, Moses as Eve Naaman, faithful servant, Israel as Segula, treasured people, Yahweh as Shokin, dwelling presence. The tablets of stone, written with Etzba Elohim, finger of God, establish material continuity between heavenly instruction and earthly practice. The golden calf. Apostasy and intercession. Exodus 32 presents the Hebrew Bible's most dramatic apostasy, Israel's demand for visible deity, Aaron's compliance, the calf's construction, and Moses' desperate intercession. The Hebrew via Yikahel Hayam, the people gathered themselves, to Aaron, Come Asay Leinu Elohim, rise up, make for us gods, reveals panic at Moses' absence, desire for Asher Yelchu Elfaninu, that will go before us. Aaron's request for gold, Hafsharun Nizmi Hazahav. His construction of Mizbeach, altar, his proclamation of Chag La Yahweh, festival to Yahweh, suggests syncretism rather than pure idolatry, Yahweh worship through calf image, yet the Emek, valley, revelry, Sachek, indicates Canaanite fertility cult. The Hebrew Shittiot, ruined/corrupted, describes Israel's rapid fall from Naaseh Vinishma commitment. God's proposal to Kalodi, consume/destroy, Israel and make Moses into Goy Gadol, great nation, tests the mediator's character. Moses' refusal, Viata imtisa chatatan, and now if you will bear their sin, demonstrates chesed, steadfast love, exceeding obligation. The Hebrew Veichel Moshe, and Moses pleaded/broke himself, before Yahweh, his 3 arguments, God's reputation among Egyptians, Shema News, the ancestors' covenant, Zikron Avraham, and divine attributes, Middot of mercy, established the pattern of takanan, supplication. Moses' shattering of the Luchot, tablets. Vayashlikim miyadav, and he threw them from his hands, represents not mere anger but judicial action, the covenant broken by Israel's violation. The Emek, valley, punishment, Levite sword, plague, possible further consequence, demonstrates that sin has cost, yet Moses' intercession limits destruction. The golden calf episode thus establishes enduring themes, Israel's tendency to visible gods, the mediator's power to avert wrath, the possibility of forgiveness after failure, the broken tablets that remain holy. The Hebrew Shnei Luchot Ha'edit, 2 tablets of the testimony, broken yet preserved in the Aaron, ark, suggest that covenant includes memory of failure as well as promise of fidelity. The broken tablets anger and restoration. The aftermath of the golden calf Exodus 33-34 explores divine presence, human intercession, and covenant renewal with unprecedented depth. The Hebrew Mein Paincha Hokim if your presence does not go with us, makes Israel's continued journey contingent on Shekinah, indwelling, not merely angelic guidance. Moses' request Hodi na et drakeka, make known to me your ways. Seeks not information but relationship, knowledge of Bichine Etcha, finding favor in your sight, that enables Rio et Hadarka, seeing your glory. The Hebrew Vikarati Bishem Yahweh, and I will call out the name Yahweh, before Moses, proclaiming Yahweh El Rakim V'Chanan, Yahweh God merciful and gracious, provides the Bible's most concentrated revelation of divine middot, attributes/qualities. The 13 attributes, Erek Apayim, slow to anger, Rav Chesed, abundant in steadfast love. Emet, truth, Natzer Chesed La'alafim, preserving love for thousands, Nos Avon, bearing iniquity, Pesha V'Chada'a, transgression and sin, Venike Lo Yenike, by no means clearing the guilty, establish the tension at covenant's heart, mercy and justice, forgiveness and consequence. The Hebrew vehicle Moshe, and Moses pleaded/broke himself, again, the second Luchot, tablets, hewn by Moses but written by God, suggest human participation in restoration. The covenant renewal's terms, Al-Tifkad, do not make covenants with inhabitants, Hishamar El-Ka, watch yourself, Kol Bichor, all firstborn is mine, Shalosh Regalim, 3 pilgrimage festivals, reaffirm previous obligations with heightened awareness of Israel's and Kesha Orif, stiff-necked, tendency. The Keshet, rainbow. Of cloud, Moses' masve, veil, after speaking with God, the or, light, from his face, all suggest transformed human capacity after extended divine encounter. The broken tablet's restoration thus represents not mere repetition but deepened relationship, knowledge of God's ways, experience of mercy, participation in covenant-making, transformed presence for community guidance. The second tablets. Forgiveness and renewal. The second tablets, Exodus 34 verses 1-4, 28-35, embody the theology of restoration, not identical replacement but transformed continuation, not erasure of failure but integration of forgiveness. The Hebrew Sol Elcha, HEW for yourself, contrasts with the first tablet's Asher Katavti, which I wrote, suggesting human participation in covenant renewal. Yet V'yiktav al-Halashat, and he wrote on the tablets, the Davar, words, of the Brit, covenant. The Aseret Hadabrat, 10 words, maintains divine authorship of content. The 40 days repetition, Arba'im Yam V'Arba'im Layla, Moses' abstention from bread and water, the Davar as covenant terms, all parallel the first ascent while transformed by knowledge of Israel's failure. The Hebrew V'Hanachati, and I will give rest/cause to rest, in 34:21 Shabbat command, be cherish you v'katzer tishbat, in plowing and in harvest you shall rest. Extends Sabbath principle to agricultural necessity, suggesting that covenant renewal includes expanded obligation.